Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Wyman Grover. I write under the name S.L. Wyman, and this channel is S.L. Wyman's Writing. I'm not only someone who enjoys writing books, which I am working on editing my first novel, which is finished right now. I'm also very much into reading all things nerdy, and of course, since I know a lot of you have seen some of my more recent videos, I'm definitely also into the tarot community very much so. And actually, this is going to be a VR to Anna at Astral Lady Tarot. This is a hashtag called Cliche Tarot Reader. Just a little bit of fun. I thought it would be a nice little break because I've been doing a lot of videos on spreads lately from our Tried Spread Revisited group on Facebook. And I just wanted to mix things up a little bit. I think I'm going to do something different with that. I wind up filming all of that all at once into one small video, kind of looking over this deck I've been working with. But this is just going to be a quick run through this VR because I've never done one before, and this one seemed really fun, so I wanted to get into it. And it's just basically a list of things that you do, or, hey, do you check these boxes to, say that you are a cliche tarot reader? And yeah, spoiler alert, I checked a lot of them. But anyway, this is going to be a lot of fun. If you're new here, welcome. Feel free to enjoy whatever you find on my channel. If you feel so inclined once you're done with everything, please feel free to comment, share, and subscribe. Be happy to have you. Make sure you're ringing the bell so you're getting all the notifications. And please do browse our wonderful AuthorTube and TarotTube communities. I will actually eventually be doing a separate video that is going to be one's going to be nothing but shout-outs for AuthorTubers, and another one nothing but shout-outs for TarotTubers and tarot content creators. So be on the lookout for those. But without further ado, let's get into this because this hashtag has been so much fun to watch. I'm excited to participate. So, the first point on the cliched tarot reader is, do you have multiple versions of a deck? Now, I took this to mean either multiple copies that are very, very similar, just maybe different colorations of a certain style, or a bunch of different Toths, or a bunch of different, Marseille, or Lenormand, or RWS. I'm just gonna strictly take it to mean RWS, and actually, yes, I do check that. I have 3 different versions of the RWS. I don't really plan on getting more. I may get one more if I ever can save up the money, because if you have not heard of her, I love Carol Hertzer's decks. They are absolutely gorgeous. They are pricey. They are worth every penny, and I want to save up really, really bad to get one of her glitter decks. I'm not gonna lie, those things are gorgeous, but they're pricey. So that is a bucket list deck. I'm gonna have to save up for a couple of years and put a little bit away in order to be able to afford that. But I thought I would share the 2 decks that I do have of hers, which are just more of the smaller, not as expensive. These ones are more just the different colorations of the RWS, because sometimes I was having trouble connecting to the images as much as I love them. And so I got her Elemental Rainbows and Crystal Fire. Obviously, I grabbed the Crystal Fire because of the name. It just sounded cool. And fell in love with the images. And the rainbows, well, I like my colors. And as you can see, look at the pretty colors. Oh my goodness. All of the beautiful colors in the edges of this deck. It's like having a trimmed and edged deck without me having to worry about making it up myself. So it was perfect for me. And as you can see, look at how beautiful this guy is. How beautiful that fool is. So that's the Elemental Rainbows. And I do apologize. Everything is kind of tucked away and things put away safely, and I'm going to put them back. I take them out to try to keep things relatively organized. But this is the Crystal Fire. And is that not just beautiful? I just fell in love with these. I have not had the pleasure or opportunity to work with them yet. I think I'm going to use them as my study decks for when I start going through some of my tarot books and start filling out some of my other journals as I kind of go along through my journey here. So obviously, spoiler alert, that checks another box, but we'll get to that in just a second. Before I moved on to the next point in this hashtag, I just wanted to share with you all something that's very sentimental to me, and that is the original RWS that I got. Because, yes, again, another cliche, and I believe this one was from Jason at Tarot by the Pines that got added to the hashtag later. Did you start with the RWS? Yes, I did. Very cliche. But, and I started that out 24, 25 years ago now. You know what time, the pandemic has done to time, but anyway. The very first version I got, I believe, is the universal version of it. It's not the one with plaid backs. Controversial hot take. I find those plaid backs to be actually ugly. I don't like them. So I love the version I got. It was actually gifted to me by my mother for my 18th birthday. Would have been, because I've been 1997. Yes, I know. I just really showed my age there, but whatever. And I actually keep it in this beautiful box. I know the color may not show up real great on camera, but it's this beautiful blue with gold, with crescent moon, suns, and stars, because that's always been my thing. Crescent moon, suns, and stars with the midnight blue and gold. Well, coincidentally, the version that I got, the first version I got of the RWS that was gifted to me, was the one with the midnight blue backs with the gold stars. And of course I have it in my midnight blue pouch with Sagittarius, which is my sign, and the gold, because I love it. Yep, pouchception here, because we got the box, we got the bag, and I have it wrapped up in this beautiful silk wrap. Let me at least get it flat so you can kind of see the suns, moons, and stars and planets. So yes, I have a thing for celestial things. I really do. And I always have. And holy crap, I really need to... Oh, I've forgotten. I put full crystals. I will actually have to leave that out and explore, because I don't remember it's been so long since I've had the opportunity to open my original deck that I actually do not remember what crystals I have in here. But I know, because of how old this deck is, they're going to be crystals that are old friends. And again, that's another part of the hashtag, but we'll get to that in a moment. We're going to have to deal with you later, I think. But you can tell how I love this is because of how bowed this is. My God. Before I really learned how to overhand shuffle well, I was a riffle shuffler and I can't bridge. So this poor deck has been through the ringer. But as you can see, and I see why everything is all blue and stars. And my sister-in-law actually made me that big box that it is in. She made me that, God, a long time ago. She always gave me like candles and crystals and all sorts of things like that for birthdays and Christmas, for various holidays for a very long time, and everything she made me has always been celestial themed. But my niece, when she was little, actually picked out the boxes and the colors. Like, I have a little box I should show you at some point. It's star shaped. The lid is painted gold and with blue on the bottom, and then the box is blue with gold inside. And my niece specifically was like, no, it needs to be this color, and it needs to have these two colors, and it needs to have crescent moons and stars on it, because that's what Aunt Sarah likes. And she helped my sister-in-law make this box and make that other little box for me, which kind of houses my very special jewelry and is put away. So I love them. They are extremely sentimental to me. So there, now you have a little bit of my history going on here, as well as It's one of my oldest things. So that's definitely a cliche I check. And while I'm kind of gently putting away my mess here, we'll go on to the next one. And that point is backup decks. I do not have any backup decks at this time. Do I plan to have one or two? Yes, eventually. But the ones that I want backups of, the reason I want backups of them is because they are very hard to come by. They're beautiful indie decks, and they are expensive. Therefore, I would be absolutely heartbroken if anything happened to them. And because of that, because they are expensive, I just do not have the means at this particular time to fix that, to get them. But eventually I will. Next one, tarot-based tattoo. Do I have one? No, I do not, nor do I plan to have one. Do I plan to have a tattoo? Yes. Maybe. I'm kind of OS when it comes to needles. Plus I have to find a design that I am okay with having on my body for the rest of my life, if I even were to do that. So, in fact, it's more likely to wind up being a tribute to David Bowie and Labyrinth, which is my absolute favorite movie. So, more likely to have that than a tarot tattoo, unless I find an image that just sucks me in. So, probably not gonna check that one. Next one, do you drink tea? Yes. In fact, I had planned on having a little thing brewed so I could pick up and say, yes, I drink tea, but that didn't happen. I was lazy today, so we had Pepsi. Why? Because I run on caffeine. And no one wants to see me uncaffeinated, so there will always be pop or coffee or tea. Always. The next one, crystals. Yes. All of the crystals. You can't really see it very well, but it's over in this corner here. I have a little altar. Spoiler alert, that checks another hashtag. But it has beautiful crystals on it. I'm a particular sucker for sodalite. The darker blue, the better. Especially with the really striking white going through it. I'm all about that. I love sodalite, lapis lazuli. Spoiler alert, my favorite color is blue. I'm also a sucker for citrine, which the big crystal over there is this big, huge hunk of raw citrine, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful, fiery dark orange, but I tend to like those. I tend to like sunstone, citrine, carnelian, onyx, obsidian, turquoise, and lapis and sodalite. But since I was like, ooh, undiscovered treasure crystals, I might as well show the ones I found. This is a piece of rose quartz. I know it's a little hard to tell in the lighting, but it's this beautiful pink and it's unfinished, which is lovely. It looks like crap because it's dropped and so many things have happened to it over the years. It's not even been funny, but this I've had since I was 10. It was on a necklace, just a little clear, polished glass crystal that's been through the ringer, but I keep it for sentimental reasons. And it's this sky blue quartz. I love it because it looks like summer sky. Again, with my thing with blue. Plus, when I was a child, my favorite shade of blue has shifted over the years. When I was a child, this was my favorite shade of blue. It's pale, pale sky blue. Now, of course, it runs more to the color of that bag and the things I showed you, the midnight blue. Petoskey stone, which a friend gave to me, in middle school. Forever ago, which is from my home from Lake Michigan, so this is my connection to my home, and that's very old as well. And this is also a very old piece that I've had forever. It's an unfinished piece of amethyst. So there, just as proof of, proof of concept, if you will. Yes. Tarot books. Do I have lots of tarot books? Not a whole lot of them, but I have crap ton of books in general. It's one of my big veins, so it's obviously I'm a writer. I love books and I love to read. You can see the 3 bookshelves behind me. There's 4 more in the house. At some point I'd like to do like an altar tour and a bookshelf tour if I can ever figure out how to really do a good decent video like that. I'm working with technology. I'm very slow to kind of learn, but I'm working on it. But yes, currently the 2 that I'm kind of working with are 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack and Holistic Tarot by Benabel Wen. Both are very good. I also have the original Arthur Edward Waite's book on the tarot that came with that Universal deck. When I very, very first got into this, way back as a teenager, which is when I kind of had my spiritual awakening, if you will, and started getting into Wicca and all that stuff. So I love it. If I can think of any more, I'll name them, but I have a lot more tarot books that I'm trying to get my hands on eventually. Because I know there's a couple by Mary Greer that are really good, and just some Paul Foster Case and a couple of other books that I really want to get my hands on. But anyway, yes, I do that. Tarot journal. Oddly enough, yep. And this is just the most current one. Again, you can't see it, but my altar is actually kind of on top of a nightstand that has 2 drawers. That top drawer is nothing but tarot guidebooks and journals. So I probably have 6 of them at this point or more, going between just notes from books I've read and thoughts on the tarot, and spreads I've done, and just notes on it. Yes, definitely check that box. Do I like to shuffle? Yes, I do. In fact, having ADHD and anxiety, the shuffling helps. It's kind of my fidget tool. And I don't even need to be doing a reading. Sometimes I'll just grab a deck, sit down while I'm watching TV, and just sit there and shuffle it. And it's a self-soothing thing. So it's very relaxing. I find it meditative. And in fact, I think Will from Atypical Tarot mentioned the same thing in his VR to this. So, spoiler alert, he's another really great one that I'll eventually be mentioning in that other video. You should check his stuff out. But, no, I definitely agree with that one. I love to shuffle. The next one, fairy lights. I don't have them, but not because I don't want them. It's basically because I don't have a whole lot of spare budget to do a lot of things. And I can either have fairy lights, or I can save up and get books. Or I can save up and get decks. And, other pretties. So they fall way down the list. Eventually, what I like to have, I want to have a little corner of this room that's very 80s out with, like some really cute retro 80s things and a little pink neon sign. And then on the other side, I want fairy lights. Eventually, like up over top of that bookshelf eventually. They may not be the traditional white ones though, because I like blue. So I might get the icicle ones that look like, with the pale blue lights instead, because I like blue. Let's see. Dedicated reading space. Yes, in fact, you guys are sitting on it right now. The thing I'm filming on is sitting right on it. It's a very nice, reasonably big square table. That was in my husband's family for a long time. I believe his grandfather made it. It's a very nice square, very sturdy construction. With a nice thing over it. I have a beautiful little cloth kind of thrown over it. It has a nice little drawer in the front that you pull out, and it's just wide enough for me to put a journal. So I can have my whole reading spread out and then a little space to write. It also, underneath here, you can't see obviously, but underneath here, where my legs are sitting is where the crosshairs, because it kind of comes to a cross underneath here. And I have a tote sitting there that has a lot of my decks. So, and then of course I have decks in a thing out here and decks behind here. Too many of them. So, but yes, I do have a dedicated reading space and I love it. And I was so freaking happy when my husband made this happen for me, and I have my little organizer up here because my friend Simon at the Hermit's Cave. I'm sure most of you, if you've watched AirTube, I'm sure most of you have heard of him. If not, go watch his stuff. He's amazing. But he had this organizer at one time that had like 6 slots and then 2 drawers and a little tray, which is big enough. You could set about 7 decks. So the decks that I'm working with currently for the month are out of their bags in their little wraps sitting in that so that I can just grab them and I don't have to take them out and keep pulling them out of their bags and unwrapping them. And then I just put their bags into this little tote under here so that I have them right handy to put them away when I'm done. Which does bring me to tarot bags and cloths. Yes, I abhor top boxes. So, I think the only exception I made was the Luxx Umbra tarot that I got. I kept that top box, mostly because it's so pretty. But anything else that comes in a top box, the top box gets thrown away. If it comes in like those big huge boxes, those get thrown away. The only boxes that generally get kept when I get a deck are really good, hard, sturdy boxes that are actually going to protect the deck. Because top boxes, in my opinion, do jack. They're terrible. They just wind up looking awful. I'm more likely to damage the deck trying to get them out of the darn things. So, away they go. And obviously, because if they're not in their box, they need to be somewhere protected, because if I'm going to invest in a deck, even if it's a relatively inexpensive mass market deck, I still treat them with respect, because to me these are my tools, these are my connection to spirit guides, to my inner world, and to the advice that I need to hear when I read. So, that said, yes, I protect them in bags. I actually kept pulled one or two out to show you that are my absolute favorites. First one does not have a deck in it yet, because the deck has not arrived, but when it does, my Labyrinth Tarot is going in this beautiful burnt orange pouch, which was made by Kelly over at Kelly Bear. I believe it's called, her Etsy page is Miss Honey Bear's Creations. She does such a wonderful job, and her things are so cute, and they're packaged so nicely. Her pouches also sell like hotcakes, so if you want to get one, I think she uploads every other Monday. Get on it, because they sell real quick. But as you can see like the nice chocolate with the beautiful little owl she gave me, because Jareth turns into an owl, and I thought this was just perfect. And what colors I've seen in the deck look like a very fall color to me, and this is gonna be perfect. I cannot wait to try that out. One of my other absolute favorite pouches comes from Magda, and I believe I'm probably saying her last name wrong, which if I am, I apologize, but her Etsy page is called Mystical Pal. I believe in her pouches are so cute. I can't show you the other one I've got, because I got that for my husband, and his runes are in it, but it's a beautiful silver bag with a black moon and a very striking raven on it. But the one I have is this purple one with the bunny and the moon, and you see these beautiful, I don't know if you can see too well, but it's got this beautiful little crescent moon charm. I got this for my Crystal Moon Tarot, which is basically the Sailor Moon deck. It's basically a deck based on Sailor Moon, because I'm an anime nerd, and that was one of my first. And in Japanese, her name is Usagi Tsukino, which means rabbit on the moon. And so, rabbit on the moon, and it's even got a crescent moon. So this was absolutely perfect for that deck. So her shop is really cute. She sells beautiful pouches. Please go check her out. Very wonderful customer service. Both her and Kelly send their packages wrapped up so beautifully with twine and, that old-fashioned wax seal, and stickers. And Kelly, I think, in hers even sent me a little thing of chamomile tea, which I'm probably going to drink before I go to bed tonight, and it's wonderful. And it was from one of my favorite tea brands too, so check them out. They're wonderful. So yes to that. And also, I was going to show you this other bag, but I'm going to save that for the next part of the hashtag here in a little bit. So tarot bags, claws, check. James also brought up, how do you feel about, do you have little rituals, or how do you feel about people touching your decks? I have certain ones that I don't care. Like the one in that box, that is a working deck. Yes, I have a huge sentimental investment in that deck. And I don't know if I could ever replace it. Even if somebody gave me another copy exactly like it, it wouldn't smell the same. I know that sounds weird. I'm a deck sniffer. I admit it. Some decks have a great scent just out of the box. That was one of them, and it's still retained that scent for all these years. But I don't know if I could ever even use another copy of that deck. I only connect with this deck. I'm not an RWS girl, like a traditional. The system, yes, but those specific images in that specific coloration, I only connect with this deck because I've worked with it and it was the only deck I had for a while until I really started collecting and my collection boomed. But it's the sentimental. It's the sentimental value. My mother gave me this, and this was my very first deck. So I don't think I could ever get another copy exactly like this because it wouldn't feel the same. Because it's not bent and warped from those years of my using it. It's not formed perfectly to my hands. I haven't developed that rapport with it because the way I actually really developed a rapport with that deck, you give me any other RWS deck, yeah, I'm thinking the Carol Hertzer ones, just because of the colors, they're gonna draw me in. The original images don't so much, but this one does because I've worked with it, because we've developed a bond over the years. And honestly, staring at that box, I'm feeling very guilty for not having pulled it out more often because I haven't used it in a long time because I'm not really as drawn to the traditional RWS images as they are displayed in that deck, but I just have a fondness for it because of the affection, so I could never replace that deck. Ever. But it's my working deck. I don't mind if people touch it because it's meant to be a working deck, and I have a lot of my other mass market decks that are ambivalent and the energy doesn't seem to give a crap one way or another, so I can work with them. And I have several that are very specifically, I bought them with the intent that I'm not going to be precious with them, other than respecting them enough to have them in a nice little bag and wrapped up or whatnot. But I'm not going to be like super precious with them, as in, you know, only pulling them out on certain occasions and super careful with the shuffling. I have a couple that I'm very specific about. Nope, these are workhorses. If I ever decide that I want to go professional, these are going to be client decks. These are going to be decks that are meant to get that wear and that, you know, toil on them. And honestly, I think it really does give decks a lot of character, you know. But that said, I would be flinching if somebody touched a couple of my more expensive decks, or my soul deck in particular, my Weaver Tarot, which is sitting right there. Yeah, it's the one that's sitting in the top tray with its little piece of amethyst on top of it. That's my baby. That's my little pastel baby. Nobody but me touches it. I show it off all the time because of how pretty it is, but nobody but me touches that. and I only read with it for myself. That is my deck. All the rest of them, don't care. I'll let people flip through them. I'll show them, but I watch them like a hawk. And I have to handle the deck. Because, you know, these are an investment, some of them. Like I have a couple of them that are out of print and are collector's editions. Mind you, I work with all my decks because I'm a firm believer in not letting something sit on the shelf if you can possibly avoid it. Like, if it's a toy, it's a toy. You're meant to play with it. If it's a video, you're meant to watch it. If it's a CD, you're meant to listen to it. I don't believe in just letting it sit in a wrapper and not using it. I don't believe in that. It's another reason I don't have very much in the way of backup decks, because I don't believe in that. It's meant to be used. These cards are meant to be used. Why would you just let it sit there and not do anything with it? That doesn't really make much sense to me. So let's see. Do I cleanse and interview my decks? Yes. Does it sometimes take me a while to get to doing it? Yes. But I do. And, you know, I have a thing for flipping through all my decks and looking at them and all of that. So yes. Do I have a purse deck? Yes, I do. It's my Lightseers, because my Lightseers Tarot is actually kind of small, my edition of it. So it fits perfectly in this little tiny bag with, you know, a crystal. You can throw a crystal in there with it. And actually, this is the time when I'm going to show you that other bag. This will give you an idea of my sense of humor. It says, ye old bag of witchy shit. What happens, because this is just big enough for me to throw a journal to record, a couple of pens, and a tarot deck into. So I throw it in this, And then that bag goes in a little backpack that I have, which I can throw all my ID and everything, so I can literally have my purse on the go with my tarot stuff if I want. So, yes. And yes, I did start with the RWS. Like I said, yes, I know the Celtic Cross. I haven't read with it in a long time, so honestly, I would have to refamiliarize myself with it because I don't use it that often anymore. But for a while there, that was what I did, was the Celtic Cross, so yes, I'm very familiar with it. The next one. Do I have a cat? Yes. In fact, if she were wandering in here, I'd pick her up and let her say hello, but I'm not going to go hunt her down. And she's fussy about being picked up sometimes anyway, and being on camera, so I'm not going to mess with her. Her name is Goblin. We've had her for about 2 years. She's, well, about a year, and she's about 2 years old. She was feral, actually. Somebody found her behind a dumpster, all by her little tiny lonesome, and got her to a friend of ours, and I will always be grateful to Megan and John because they basically fed her, got her a little bit healthier, cleaned up her ears, and made sure she didn't have any ticks or fleas or anything like that, and then basically put out the call for, we have 5 cats, we can't keep her, but she's really sweet and really friendly. Can someone please come get her? And I had wanted a cat for 26 years. I am a total cat person. Cat obsessed. Freaking love animals, especially cats. And my husband and I have been talking for a very long time about getting one. And we got sent her picture, and our friend group joked around and named her. I was resistant, and then we got to go meet her, and not only was she chasing around a Maine Coon 3 times her size, because believe me, she's tiny. She's like 8 pounds of itty bitty floof. And she just walked right up and flopped on my feet and just immediately chose us. So she is my little familiar, and I love her to death. And yep, the minute I saw her and saw those beautiful yellow eyes, I'm like, Goblin. That's her name. And yeah, she's been living with us ever since. She's my little precious sweetheart and sleeps with me every night, and she's my touchstone and my little familiar. I love her to death. So next one is candles, incense, and oils. You can't see them. Yes, I have candles. My favorite one is called Writer's Block. I bought it totally because of marker strategy. It's hilarious. Not only is it blue, which is my favorite color, but it jokingly says, smells like a vampire or old books. I don't know. It's a candle, not magic. Just light the darn thing. It said something like that on the label, and it made me laugh so hard I had to buy it, and it's wonderful. You can't see it because I unfortunately used it all up. But yes, I do have candles. I do love them. I do burn incense. I